Okay, welcome. We are here. It's October 25th, 2021. It's the Energy Advisory Committee, City of Easthampton, meeting via Zoom. And we'll start again. Thanks, Scott, for sending out the minutes from the September and August meetings. Make a quick discussion motion to approve those, review and approve those minutes. I guess, can I get a motion?
I'll move that you approve my minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Thank you, Scott. We have an opportunity for public speak. I don't see any members of the public here other than our faithful city employees who are coming to join us. So thank you all for that. Next thing on here is to discuss municipal aggregation. Last time we had the folks from Good Energy and the mayor joining us to talk through some of that and help the mayor, understand a little bit more of the process, the interest around that. They did send me a follow-up afterwards. We've been corresponding just a little bit, nothing concrete at this point. I think the next steps in the process, are for us to gain some traction with the city council and to get a couple champions with the city council to start moving towards putting or whatever, I'm trying to remember the specific term for it right now, but in place that we can use to get the process going. So with the election coming up in just over a week, there's probably going to be at least a few changes to the city council in terms of some people who aren't running and a couple seats that are not fully decided yet. So my thought on that was that, in the aftermath of that, we can even sort of decide now, kind of divide up a few people or identify a few people that we thought would be good targets to be, the champions on that. I know Owen has been to our meetings and has, put himself forward as being interested in leading that charge. We don't know if he's going to be reelected at this point, but assuming that he does, then we could certainly put him at the forefront. I think Tom Peake, who is my district counselor as well, it would be supportive. He has been, and a very limited amount of correspondence I've had with him. If there's anybody thinks that we should go after, probably, two is probably a good start. We can certainly go after more. I think most of them would be open to it and all that. But in terms of just getting started, those are the two that came to mind.
Likewise. There's a candidate, Connie something, who seems sort of progressive, and so might be someone to approach. But I know that Owen and Tom have already been in touch with us about this stuff, so I think they are the obvious places to start, as long as they're still part of the council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think any new people that get on, it would be worth maybe sending them a quick message in the aftermath, just saying, "Hey, we're the Energy Advisory Committee. Here's something that we're looking to bring to the council in the near term. So, let us know if this is something you'd like to be a part of. It could be something they can sort of get behind early on in their tenure. That was another thought I had. Jamie, you had a.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of push you to consider who's ever, like, after the new committee assignments come out. So you'll know who's elected after whatever the November 2nd, but the new committee assignments won't come out until January.
Okay.
And so I would assume, I don't actually know if it's a seniority or if it's a lottery or how they determine it, but who's ever on the ordinance subcommittee or like the government rules and regulations might be good to target.
Okay.
And just sticking with, I think Owen and Owen and Tom are, they've been around now, so they kind of understand the process and how things would go. So echoing what you said about working with them. Anything would have to go to subcommittee, and then with the subcommittee, it's going to be 3 members. So
And we're not sure which subcommittee. You said it could be government or it could be ordinance.
It's probably ordinance.
Mhm.
But I don't know, because this would be something that affects all. I don't actually know.
Okay. I'll take a look. I'll see who's on the ordinance subcommittee right now, unless somebody knows off the top of their head. Oh, we got Andy.
Nice. Jamie, I have a note in the minutes from last time that Patrick from Good Energy was going to send us some materials with which to approach counselors. Did that happen?
Yes, let me double check. He did send me some stuff, and I'm sorry if I didn't disseminate that. I did not disseminate it, but I apologize. He just sent me it's just a quick like 2-pager that's like a primer. I will share that with everybody here in the aftermath of this meeting, make sure everybody has it. He did send me a little bit of follow-up about the municipal light plant stuff too, since we talked about it last time, and they were sort of cautioning us against going down that road for a number of reasons. I think it's way onerous. It's not something the mayor's interested in really, from an electricity standpoint. It's also something that sounds like, in the current state of things in Massachusetts is not really amenable to doing that very easily, or at least the utilities are not, and they have some sort of power over that because of their ownership of infrastructure. So, I mean, that wasn't something we really wanted to take on anyway, but it was just because it's coming through for the broadband initiative, to be used in that sense, it was like maybe, it was at least worth having that conversation. But I think, if we're going to do this, we're going to do aggregation kind of on its own and not as part of some larger.
And I just, I did look at the other member of the ordinance subcommittee is Salem Derby.
Okay. Who are the other two?
Owen and Tom.
Oh, it is Owen and Tom. Oh,
yeah.
So okay.
Assuming that they're all reelected and assuming that they stay on the same subcommittees and they don't rotate around, then those are the three. And I'm glad to hear you guys talked about the electric light plant, because it is part of the whole broadband initiative. And as my understanding was that it would take, if we did that route, then it would be more city, like we need more city staff time to make the aggregation happen. It's just sort of, as opposed to contracting it out. But again, that's probably something that when it goes to city council, they'll make that decision. Obviously provide them with the information you guys have, but they're going to decide which route makes sense for the city.
Yeah, that's where the stuff that Good Energy sent over, I think, would be useful, and then we'll have that information ourselves to talk to them about, sort of in the lead up to the language that they're going to put together around this. And again, I can't think of what the word is. I keep saying like a motion or something like that, but whatever it's going to be that they have to pass. Word is escaping me. No. But anyway, so I'll share what they sent. We'll look at Owen, Tom, and Salem kind of as our starting point, since they're on the ordinance committee now, and at the very least we can, maybe get some draft language that we're, start using. Maybe there's some I think maybe asking them previously about some examples of, what other towns have done in terms of how they got this started and what they put, what the council was advancing. So we can do that, and then look at the early part, January, February of next year, to actually get something in place and passed. I think is a reasonable timeline. Do you think that's?
Jamie's laughing.
Jamie's laughing. Is that too aggressive? You think that's too?
I would just temper those expectations with a healthy dose of reality. Just considering how long it's taken the Energy Advisory Committee to really discuss it is, there's probably not going to be a lot done between now and the beginning of January. And but getting people on board and trying to set the stage for it, getting councilors on board is going to take, I think, the majority of what the sort of, if the Energy Advisory Commission is the champion of it, then the council will do the work. But I think getting it to the council for something that they want to work on is going to be the thing that really gets where I think the Energy Commission would have the most impact.
Okay. So yeah, so it'll be on us to push that. And as you rightfully point out, there is a subcommittee process that's got to go through. So there's probably go back and forth a time or two, depending on language, everyone's comfort level with stuff and information. So
right. And so I mean the council typically starts with a request to the full council, and then it's sent to the subcommittee, and the subcommittee studies it until they're ready to kick it back to the full council. So.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you for the heavy dose of reality. It's worth tempering my expectations. It's always easy to think, oh, this is simple. And then really.
I mean, it is, but it's also government. So.
Simple and government. Do those two words even exist in the same sentence? I don't know. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I'll share that information. We'll work on that, sort of get the process, start laying the groundwork with the councilors a little bit more at this point, and then we can report back next time on sort of any progress we have based on that, see who's on the council, who else we might want to target, and go from there. Anybody else have anything they want to discuss around that before we move on? Okay. Let's talk about the Green Community Grant proposal. Cassie.
Yeah. So the biggest update is that I did submit the application on time, no problem. Got a confirmation that it was all received successfully and everything like that. I haven't got any comments back yet from either the coordinator or the review people. And I don't know, I did talk to our regional coordinator, and he said it would probably be a while until they got back to us. So I'll update you all if I hear more about that. And then the other thing that I've shifted gears to working on is the annual report. Going well. The biggest thing that's new about it this year is that there's a part in there that they want any kind of guesses or information about how COVID may have impacted our energy use or fossil fuel usage. And Jamie and I were talking about it earlier. It's really any major outliers, either in a drop in use or an increase in use, can probably be attributed to COVID. One example was that the kids weren't in school for a chunk of time, but once the buildings were open, they were having either the windows open or all these HVAC systems going, maybe more than they would have normally. I'm going to take a closer look at the MEI data and see what I can kind of pull from there. But I just thought maybe you guys would have anything that you think I should particularly check out, or just your thoughts on that could be helpful.
You're thinking this is specifically about municipal energy use, so municipal buildings and those sorts of things?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see, I can take a quick look at it too, just to see what jumps out for last year, if anything. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be school usage is way down, but then you're right. At the flip side is that they use them more because there was a lot more testing and a lot more trying to pump up airflow. So it might not be down as much as you might think otherwise. So, but it's even that is just as a case in point shows, as a part of when you're writing up the narrative part of it will be that you've been reviewing it. And there'll be some little data points you can throw in and add to that. But I'll take a quick look to see if there's anything else that jumps out at me.
Okay, awesome. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Those lines, like 50 Payson building, probably less utilized, right, for a good chunk of this year, and not really occupied in large measure. I don't know.
Right, but did the conditioning reduce at all, and were the lights off, or was the building just sort of humming along empty?
And we had staff in here, just reduced capacity, so the building was
Okay.
on, and I don't recall it being overly heated.
Was that all year it's been open with limited staff, or since?
Because when maybe the first 2 months we weren't allowed in the building at all, but then we were doing this office sharing thing where, you know, I think it was like basically one person per office was allowed to be in the building at a time. So
That's it. For things like transportation, is that something else like school buses, since they weren't running, like fewer miles driven, or even some like municipal vehicles?
Yeah, no school buses. That's completely outside of the parameters, but definitely all city vehicles.
Yeah, I'm working on getting the vehicle information gathered now, so I haven't finished gathering all that yet.
Anecdotally, I'd heard towards the beginning of the pandemic that 911 calls were way down, but then I also heard anecdotally that they, after everyone got used to the fact that like you could still rely on emergency services and things like that, that then the calls started to go actually above what was previous volumes. So probably balances out, but it might also just depend on what the you know, your report goes to December 31st of 2020, or is it June 30th of 2020?
No, it's fiscal year.
Fiscal.
So then it should probably balance out by June 30th.
Oh, so fiscal year being what, last July through this June 30th of 2021?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I wonder, with like wastewater treatment, with so many more people at home, would the wastewater treatment have been increased, like an increased burden on those facilities perhaps?
That's like a big bulk of the data is for the wastewater treatment facilities. The data that I enter manually is for the heating of those buildings. The rest of them are metered for the electricity. So I haven't looked at the electricity data yet to see if it's gone up. I do feel like for the heating, it may have gone down for some of them, the amount of oil that they received, just because there weren't as many people in there.
Maybe it'd just be interesting. I mean, we don't have to keep thinking about it or mulling about it. I think just maybe next time we could have a little report back and you and I could both take a look at it and bring back some ideas about what seems to have impacted. Be curious to talk a little bit more when we actually have looked at the data.
Yeah, definitely. The report is due November 19th. So I don't know if we're going to meet again before it's due, but either way, I can tell you guys all about it.
Okay.
Nice.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I have the next meeting penciled in for just after that, but we can discuss that at the end. Okay, thanks. Anything else with the year-end report, Cassie?
Nope, that's all I had to really say about it.
Cool. We'll look forward to hearing more about that, as well as the grant proposal. Nice to see that come to fruition as well. I think that's probably a few months out, as you said.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Next, for the solar ordinance working group, we have our next meeting with that this week. Maren, is there anything particular you think is worth bringing to this group from there so far?
No, I think it's quickly moving forward, and I don't know exactly what the timeline is, but I would say by the end of this year, very beginning of next year, we should have some very concrete things to sort of bring back and report back. Definitely Curtis is moving it forward, so it's good. Yeah,
he's very good about keeping it organized and sort of on point. I think a lot of the debate is for the sort of ground mount versus roof mount, open or using undeveloped land versus already developed land. That's kind of where a lot of the dividing discussion has been around, like how to make it easier in some cases and harder in other cases potentially, or to at least like preserve sort of the competing interests of land and open space versus like development. So I think it's even kind of wended its way through a few different, it started with one idea and it's kind of worked its way through a couple of different, dealing with the reality of the situation has been a little different than what I think was maybe originally thought was going to be easy or would be intended, what Owen maybe had in mind when he first proposed it. So that's kind of interesting to see the sort of government in action, I guess.
I mentioned the solar ordinance kind of thing and some of the questions that we'd been asking as the EAC to my other volunteer gig, which is with the Piscomic Conservation Trust. And folks there expressed a lot of interest as well in the question of the preservation of wildland in relationship to the benefits of green energy development. So that group is definitely interested as well in what comes out of the working group.
Are you on the board there, Scott?
I am, yeah.
There you are. Okay.
Yep.
I volunteer with that, but I haven't made the leap to board membership. Maybe someday.
Well, I had all this free time during the pandemic and I got myself horrendously overcommitted.
Yeah.
And now life is picking back up again.
Yeah. I do you work with any of the specific properties that they have? Not to get off topic.
No, I haven't done much with the property management. I've also sort of, like, I'm the young guy on that group, so
Yeah.
So I've been helping with the social media there as well, and I think I'm going to work on their newsletter going forward.
Nice.
Which is almost has been like a photocopied zine in the past. So try to improve that a little bit.
Back to the roots. Like
yeah.
80s cut and paste.
Exactly right. So, but there, I have so much admiration for the folks who are, have been part of that board for decades and, have such a commitment to the land and for this little, tiny nonprofit volunteer organization, they punch above their weight. And I was on a call with some other land trusts that are coordinating a like online giving day around Earth Day. And, most of these other trusts have budgets and have staff and, and it's like, well, PCT is not doing too bad for, a bunch of volunteers. So,
yeah, it's a great organization. There's a lot of local knowledge in that group too.
Amazing. Yeah. Right.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll definitely get them, some feedback on what's happening with that.
Yeah. Please do.
I actually had a question about the solar. At the last meeting, we had a conversation about incentives, either negative incentives or positive incentives to sort of guide the solar development. And I don't know if anyone who was at that meeting has had any opportunity to think about that or putting that in as a plug for the upcoming meeting on Wednesday to think about those things when we come back. But if there's anyone who had any thoughts on what would we be able to, or how could the city incentivize brownfield and grayfield, other than through zoning, but if there were opportunities for monetary incentives and how we would be able to do that, or what scaled incentives would be needed to tip a developer from going for a greenfield development to a grayfield development.
Jamie, the only thing, that I've thought about in terms of that was that I don't know how much we're not flushed with money. So to think about proactively giving money seemed a little far-fetched, but reactively reducing taxes on property is what came to mind. So that would be a financial incentive, if they were doing the right thing with a brownfield, and now they can even more get a lower tax rate or something. So that was the only thought that I had to bring to Wednesday's conversation on that.
Okay. That's helpful.
I think anything that you can do to sort of reduce, bureaucratic burden, permitting and anything else, that's a major thing for developers, right? That they want to try to cut down on the number of meetings they have to attend, the number of, things back and forth, whatever they need to submit. The more you can streamline that process, the more attractive those sorts of projects become.
So
that's where we're, okay.
Conversely, adding bureaucracy and permitting for the types of uses we don't want to see would be a disincentive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mary, did you have something else to add on that?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Any other thoughts on positive or negative incentives for solar? I would just say that, we're seeing it now. I saw something else today about, the federal government wanting to maybe try to start citing storage projects at every substation, in the US as part of this infrastructure push and green energy push. But anything, we haven't talked that much about storage in the solar ordinance working group, but I think it's definitely something that maybe it doesn't happen with that, but something that, we want to think about as a city and just kind of generally, because there's opportunities for standalone storage or storage cited where at specific places or added to wherever solar is. And I think that's going to become increasingly attractive, and there may be new incentives at the federal level that come online for that in terms of an investment tax credit that normally right now does not hit storage only projects. Things like that could make those higher profile or more likely to be coming as well. So something else to keep in mind with that.
That's good thoughts. Pass them along and should bring them up again on Wednesday.
Yeah. So we'll see how this Wednesday goes, and maybe there'll be another meeting even before our next one, depending on how the timing shakes out. And we'll update again, but some good progress with that. I do have the Honeywell RFP on here. I see that the mayor is not here. I have not received anything additional from anybody there. I know that there's maybe not a whole lot of that we can do or influence with that at the moment. I don't know if there, what progress has been made towards that or any changes since we last heard. If anybody knows anything, feel free to bring it up now.
I don't, but I do, again, having finally just typed up the minutes from last time, at that meeting, in September, she told us the city was awaiting the updated document from Honeywell, hopefully that week. And when it arrived, she would send it to us.
Right.
And I don't believe we saw any of that. So maybe I'll send an email to follow up. Trying to keep ourselves in the loop.
Yeah, I think in the loop is fine for now. I don't know, what sort of influence or anything we're going to have on that going forward, but certainly, having the information is useful so that we can at least review and see if there's comments or discussions that we want to have around that. Okay, but thanks, Scott. If you could follow up with that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We have any other sort of social media side of things that you've pursued or thought of recently?
As I was thinking about coming into this meeting, I feel very unsure about what to do with the social media post and what the goals are and everything. And, I'm on a couple of email lists and I get interesting articles. And sometimes I think to just throw those up on the EAC Facebook page to share with whoever our audience is. But, is the goal to invite more people to follow the EAC Facebook group, or is the goal just to present sort of city specific information? So I end up being very kind of scattershot about what I do with it because I'm not clear on what to do.
I think it's reasonable. I mean, I think it's tricky, right, to know exactly how to sort of thread the needle a little bit with that sometimes.
And I think a lot of people think that social media is an end to pursue in and of itself, and that seems kind of silly for a city advisory committee. So then again, if we want to be considered an important part of the city's governance, it helps if the residents of the city know we exist and find our presence useful and helpful and informative. So
Maybe one thing we could do for now is, we have a vacancy, at least one right now on the council.
Right.
So, or the committee. So maybe we could, put that out there as a thing to see if that sparks any interest in somebody, coming to join and fill out that last spot.
As I recall, that has to be posted for 10 days at the municipal building before it can be advertised elsewhere. Is that correct? Jamie, maybe you can speak. I believe the mayor or somebody said something like that in a previous meeting, that because I had brought up like, hey, maybe we should be, trying to use the social media account to invite more people. And there was kind of a technicality that it has to be like publicly posted.
I'm not sure that,
Let me see if I can find that.
I mean, so,
Yeah, I mean, I would just email Barbara.
yeah,
She'll be able to give you the clarification of that.
but I know that on the website, we have, each board has their own page and it shows how many seats are posted or how many seats are taken and how many are vacant. So right now I'm looking at the Energy Advisory Commission and shows Misty, Scott, Marin, and Jamie, and then 2 vacant seats.
Okay.
So I always assumed that that was the posting,
Okay.
and that it was sort of just always updated.
Yeah, the city's list of vacancies lists one spot for us, which I'm assuming is the one Stephen resigned from, and it says the date of posting is September 2nd of this year. So that would pass. I would say we can pass the 10-day threshold
For sure.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to double check, just real quick to before, but so that could be one. That could be one thing. Another thing that we could start to do is, around aggregation, maybe start like a little bit of an information campaign around aggregation in the city, maybe with some of the materials that Good Energy has sent us, or, something like that, where we could start to, just put it out there. And, as we work with the council, also get some information out to the public so that, maybe it starts to circulate a little bit. I'm not going to say we have, extensive reach, but
Right.
sort of invite people to think about it, share, start to, if people have questions or interest in it. Maybe we do those 2 things kind of in conjunction and say, hey, here's one thing that we're working on, come join us. We got an open spot to, and bring your ideas, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That all sounds good.
Anybody else? Any other? Well, why don't we go to sort of the next bit, which is new other business. Do we have any new initiatives, new thoughts, new things that we want to take up at the moment?
Not at this time.
Sounds like a resounding no. Okay, so I have here for the next meeting, I have it penciled in for November 22nd, which would be about 4 weeks from now, right before, I think that is the week of Thanksgiving. So that's the Monday. So I don't know, people's travel plans or things may affect that, but does that generally look available for people?
The minutes from the previous meeting said November 15th at 4 p.m. would be the next scheduled meeting.
Right. And then we pushed this one got pushed back.
So push this.
We could certainly do the 15th as well. Either one of those is open for me if anyone has a preference.
Yeah, they're both okay for me as well. So.
Yeah, let's hold off to the 22nd. I don't think there's anything pressing. That way Cassie can finish the report and present on it. And
sounds good.
Okay.
And 5 p.m. better for people, or 4? Marin, I know something you had a conflict at 4 perhaps. So
that's just this week. I mean, 4 p.m. actually is fine for the future one. It sounded like that was better for some other people too. So yeah, we can do 4 on the 22nd.
I would prefer that I need to be there, but if I want to go, there is another Conservation Commission meeting on the 22nd that starts at 6. So earlier would be better for me if that works.
Earlier is better for me too.
4 o'clock works for me on the 22nd. So why don't we do Monday the 22nd at 4 p.m.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else to discuss? I think we're at the end of the agenda here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks you all. I guess we'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are
Good day, everybody.
go. Thanks so much, Maren. Thank you, Jamie, Cassie, Scott. See you next
Yeah,
Good timing.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to
Bye-bye.
see you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.